if you are told that you will still be treated whether you contribute or not, will you contribute?
I won't.
Exactly.
I'll sit back.
Exactly. That is our mentality. So why would they think that when we have it as an option for SHA, why would they think that Kenyans would willingly contribute? They know it's a calm before a storm. I think they are not sure what will trigger the storm, but they know that things are not okay. And that's why they are busy campaigning. That's why you have different ethnic groups at State House every other day, and still trying to convince the people. So you can see that they are struggling with that relevance and still trying to show that they have dominion. You know, what happened in Nepal should have brought a sense of fear to Kenyan politicians. You know that fear they had, hiyo woga walikuwa wamekimbia wakitoka bunge.
Yeah.
Where even I hear some people were even screaming when they saw how the youth entered parliament. That fear, that moment, they should just reflect on it and go back to that moment, because it can happen again.
Tired of the same old shopping experience? Step into a smarter way to shop with Whitson Group, Kenya's go-to online store for quality you can trust. From gadgets and homeware to everyday essentials, we deliver convenience right to your door. Fast shopping, secure payments, and top-notch customer care, all in one place. Visit whitesongroup.com today. Whitson Group, simple, reliable, delivered.
Great to see you on Richard Mwenja exclusive. It is such a privilege to have you on board once again. And as usual, you know the drill. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. I'm usually in the phenomenal company of Executive Director CS Place, Madam Nerima Wako. She's here with me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Nerima, looking all colorful. What's the occasion though?
It's a busy Friday or busy day because I have quite a number of meetings to go for. So for me, when you say official, I will try with dark colors, but there has to be something that's a bit bright.
Conspicuous.
There has to be. I love color. You know, Africans we're vibrant people. So it's always interesting when I'm in government meetings, you just see a lot of black, gray, navy blue, and maybe some splashes of light colors, but I like all bright colors.
Nerima, there's so much happening, not just in Kenya, but also across our borders. And of highlight are the events that happened in Nepal earlier this week. And it is not foreign to Kenya. We've seen this revolt among the youth, calling for accountability, calling for a listening ear to be granted to them. Well, the case of Nepal is because of extreme arrogance from the government and just dismissal of these voices that are calling for accountability. It happened to Kenya a while ago. The only difference is the scale, the magnitude of that uprising. So then again, what do you think is the lesson for us as a country as of now, if Nepal is anything to go by?
Nepal is something to go by. I believe for Kenya, we are pace setters. I think it's to look at it in that manner. And what we're witnessing is a global shift. Right before 2022, there's an article that The Guardian did about democracy and how democracy is on the decline globally, how young people are not connecting with democracy, but most importantly, questioning capitalism. A lot of our countries are capitalists. So when you see the issues being discussed, we don't even have to just focus on Nepal. Look at France. They are having protests right now as we speak. Because of what? Issues are very similar. When you're talking about high cost of living, Nepal was also talking about corruption. They were talking about the flamboyance and arrogance of politicians not listening to the people. So what are similarities? They shut down social media. What are similarities? We saw high school students being vocal and calling on populations to rise up. For us, we saw, schoolgirls around a play and them even being defiant in their own ways. So those similarities generational. And I think what Kenya needs to realize, especially people in leadership, as much as right now we can see them really grappling to remain in power, whoever remains in power in 2027 will grapple in a world of young people. So even though you clench to that seat, you will be forced to understand what are the issues of young people, and you will have to adapt to that. And I don't think Kenyans in leadership right now have come to terms with that. Yeah.
As you're having our program today, it coincides in the sense that it's the 3rd anniversary of President Ruto at the helm of leadership in this country. And even when he was coming to power, he made a pledge to the Kenyan youth, pledges of inclusion and more empowerment to the Kenyan child. Charters were signed there between the youth and the government that was going to now come into place. If you are now to audit 3 years down the line, do you feel that charter has been honored on inclusion and empowerment of the Kenyan youth?
Absolutely not. What I see 3 years down the line is actually much more campaigning than year one. We've been seeing a lot of talk about development, but it's tribally based. We're seeing how they are organizing. It's ethnic based. So we've actually moved away from devolution, which is equity, to all. So it doesn't matter where you are in Kenya, you will have access. But actually what we're saying is, if you have a direct connection to State House, then you have development. So I've actually seen us go backward in such a small amount of time. We've seen expenditures just rise, unnecessary trips and costings on trips, especially amongst young people. When you're talking about labor, all the labor plans are exported labor. It's surprising to me that there's even almost like a desk at the airport for immigration specific to labor for young people. So not only are we viewing them as, potential for our country, we're sending them off to other countries to build other countries and not focusing on manufacturing and building here in terms of opportunity. So it's a concern because we will remain a young population for decades to come. We are seeing larger numbers of children coming in, and the average age will continue to remain really low for a large amount of time. And I don't think that our economy is prepared for that bulge, even that one that exists right now. It's not.
It makes sense. I'm happy that you've dropped in the conversation about at the airport now you've seen thousands of Kenyans wanting to go out for greener pastures from their lenses. And it begs one question. If you look at how we've navigated the path of labor migration industry, the other day we just saw Alfred Mutua, Labor CS, talk about there's this chance for border riders outside there in the Gulf. This is the opportunity we are creating for the Kenyan youth. Not just that, we've had a plethora of such opportunities abroad. But then again, from a policy standpoint, do you think our main focus should be on taking them outside there, or just building our industries out here, or creating opportunities here in?
It is creating opportunities here in. I think we still struggle with food security. We have a lot of land that is agricultural land. I think there's a lot of opportunity, especially for young people. And even when we talk about self-sustenance, food has to be there. People will need food every day, all the time, to be able to survive. So I don't believe that going out is the number one priority and only method to be able to build our economy. But what worries me is the middle companies that are involved in this shipping of labor. We've seen so many scandals, some of them related to state or government, where people pay certain amounts of money to be able to be, put into a program. They're abandoned at airports. So they go to these countries and you're finding that it's close to slavery, or you're seeing human rights violations. And then you're seeing silence from our own foreign affairs ministry. So it's a concern when these middle companies are not held accountable, because they'll just tell you, oh my goodness, someone made millions of shillings, fooling Kenyans that there are opportunities out here. but then we don't hear about who that someone was and what happened to that company and who's responsible for that company and what happened further to make sure it doesn't happen again. That for me is a worry. So you will continue to see desperate people using desperate measures, and there are people who are middlemen who will always take advantage of that. And the reason why we should always move away from this exported labor, look at what's happening in the globe. Countries are struggling with their own issues, their own economic issues. So even us as Kenyans, as Africans migrating, European countries, they're becoming very far right, and most of the conversation is around labor, and they are trying to stop immigration, and they don't want Africans in their countries. Let's be frank
We are
about
not
that.
wanted out here?
No, we are not wanted. No, we're not. So, you know, they say that they need the labor, but really they don't even want Africans to have certain levels of citizenship. So let's just be frank about that, and it will only continue to get worse because we're seeing how governments in European countries are struggling to survive. Many of them are meeting gridlocks. The UK, France, Netherlands is also going through something. Denmark, they're struggling to even have coalition governments to be able to survive because of what their stance are on issues, and some of the issues is immigration. So I think Kenya needs to just think, you know, futuristically and be concerned about how do we keep ourselves and our citizens and our neighbors, because there's the Africa free trade. Why are we not talking about a borderless Africa? Why are we not encouraging labor within Africa, specialized products?
Common currency and all.
Yeah, that would be, you know, where is the AU on this? Why is it silent? It's such a brilliant opportunity to be able to do this. We have countries who are keen to do this. They've already started the push in terms of even building their economies and looking inward. I think we lose focus when we constantly look at the outside, and we have a lot of resource and potential within.
It makes sense, Nerimo. Well, a pledge was made, rather a promise, that the Kenya Kwanza administration is going to create 4 million jobs for the Kenyan youth. Of course, that was such a lofty promise. But now, if you are to audit, now that we're marking the third anniversary of President Ruto as the leader of our nation, do you think that is a promise that, by and large, has remained only good on paper? And is it feasible for us to still realize it before the end of the next 2 years?
You know, when you talk about opportunities, even when you measure unemployment, it's tricky because what is rendered unemployed? Is it when you're home for 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years? And even when you talk to young people, and a lot of them are basically surviving from part-time to part-time to part-time, and we're seeing a sense of people being underpaid and overworked. We are not really seeing people being appreciated or being paid to par of their skill. We are seeing a lot of companies struggling to keep workforce. So even some of the plans that they have from climate works, or even some of these ideas that they have, they are very temporary. So you'll do something for 500 bob, you see people cleaning streets. It helps to put food on the table. But then, are we building careers? Are we building livelihoods where people are able to even eventually grow somewhere and being able to create room for others to come on board? Or is it just a temporary fix for you now, and then we come and fix temporary for this person? I see a lot of that. Temporary for you, next time it's you, temporary for all of us. And that rotational sort of support is very difficult to build countries with, because you're not able to now create this self-sustenance. And we come from a country that has, you know, even a slogan. When you talk about Harambe, we've seen how, you know, people have built chamas, people table banking. So this small haba na haba hujaza kibaba. So this small has actually built industries, even supermarkets. We've seen that happen in Kenya. So we know that this framework works for our people. But then when the resource is too little that people can't even put anything on the table, there's nothing that will grow. So I feel that, Kenya youth they are brilliant. I mean, they have zeal. Even when you look at, there was a scandal where they were saying American students would pay Kenyan students to do their research.
Academic writing.
Academic writing. Kenya was one of the countries that, one of the most notorious for doing these assignments. I mean, Kenyans, just give them the opportunity, they grasp things, they run with it. And how many hackers have we seen who should be working for the CIA, hacking into bank accounts? We even saw that happen in Tanzania.
Hacking into gambling companies.
Exactly. So the brilliance is there. It's just the room to be able to nurture this brilliance, to be able to create opportunities is what's lacking. And unfortunately, there's not enough wiggle room for the majority population to be given leniency, to be able to develop when you have the very rich getting access to even more and just building empires. And it goes back to that mentality, which is what we're seeing globally. Even this is an issue in the UK, where most of the young politicians who came in with the Labour Party. And most of people's concerns are, why are you not taxing the rich? This is also the challenge of Trump, where people are surprised that he's standing to, or he's friends with tech giants. People are assuming that he would tax them more, because even when you talk about social media, it's your content. Yeah, it's your content. You posting every day, you're making someone rich. In the US, and no one is paying you. It's very few people who get paid from social media compared to the profit that they make. Sometimes even $2 billion in a month. And then they put their banks in safe havens where they have tax havens and they don't have to pay tax. So these are some of the conversations we'll have to have about future, just because social media is so intertwined into our lives. And this government is not. They support business. They're concerned about big business. And oftentimes big business is what is harming a larger population. People assume that big business trickles down resource, but what we're seeing is big business keeps resource in big business.
Up there.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Talking about big business and that being the huge craving from this government, the president earlier this week was still in Ethiopia for the African Climate Summit. And therein we saw him witness the inauguration of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, an over $4 billion worth of project, biggest hydropower project in Africa. So if the president is going to focus on these mega investments that are going to leave a name outside there, do you think he has so much lessons to learn from Ethiopia itself, whom it's the people who contributed towards this project? There was huge sense of trust into the realization of this dam dream. Do you think that's the missing link here in Kenya, the trust deficit from the taxpayers?
Yeah, it's not, so trust deficit, but they have every right to distrust, because we've witnessed what happens when we contribute. What's happening right now with health. Those who are in the middle class are the ones who are paying the majority of the resource to carry most of the population that doesn't have a salary. And this is a worry, because you are giving this middle upper class a tax burden to be able to pay for the majority who can't. Yet when you think about the way NHIF was structured, it was, you must make a contribution. As soon as you sign up for it, you have to contribute 500 shillings. Right now, the way people understand it is, I have free healthcare, but it's not free. there's someone else paying for that. So, and we've seen, again, the amount of billions that have been lost in something like health. So the trust deficit should be there. It's granted because we've seen what they've done, you know. Those people who've trusted with their money, it didn't go toward the health, and also it's not being managed according to the kind of population that we have. I mean, if you are told that you will still be treated whether you contribute or not, will you contribute?
I won't.
Exactly.
I'll sit back.
Exactly. That is our mentality. So why would they think that when we have it as an option for SHA, why would they think that Kenyans would willingly contribute? So I feel that the way even this government structures things of how the public can be involved, they don't quite understand the psyche of the Kenyan when it comes to contributing. One. Number two, they don't know how to manage public resource. Number three, I would see it as an ideal opportunity in terms of how countries can partner, even when it comes to access to power, or if it comes to the production of certain goods, when it comes to export and import. I think that it's seen as a competition of which country made the best SGR, which one looks the best, which one travels the fastest. And, you know, I feel like it's not a Pan-African way of our countries partnering. It sometimes feels competitive, which comes from our colonial past because of the borders. Some of us were colonized by different countries who were competing when it came to power and influence. And that competition
is still in town.
Is still here within us.
Whose president flies the most? I mean.
So unfortunately, that's also a narrative that we have to break down and change within our children in terms of how we view each other, as we are literally brothers and sisters. Some of us have relatives of the same tribe in Uganda, but because of some, it's not even a real line, we all of a sudden feel we are very different people. I think that's something that we will have to change, especially social media. It's made us see much more about each other in the world differently.
Majirani.
Lakini saa zingine tunatusiana. Sometimes I'm like, is this
you chased
animosity
from the stadium because of that?
Sometimes I worry about that. I feel like it's a sibling rivalry, you know? But at the end of the day, even though you fight with your brother and sister like that, if something happens to them, you know you'll be there for them. Hata kama saa zingine mnagombana sana. But I hope we will do that for each other. Sometimes the rivalry looks quite intense.
It remains to be seen. Nirima, let's shift gears a bit and talk about governance issues, full throttle. And the events of Nepal rekindle some sense of worry in us, that because we've been there before the Gen Z 2024, 2025, but now we are witnessing some sort of relative calm. Almost zero protests within the last 1 month or at least 2 months. Even on social media itself, you can say maybe it has gone down just by a little scale when it comes to now people going out there full throttle critiquing this government. From the optics of the government, do you think they are believing that things are now sorted, or they are misplaced? This is just the calm before this, the storm.
They know it's a calm before a storm. I think they are not sure what will trigger the storm, but they know that things are not okay. And that's why they are busy campaigning. That's why you have different ethnic groups at State House every other day, and still trying to convince the people. So you can see that they are struggling with that relevance, and still trying to show that they have dominion, that they have control, that they have authority. And so
but
we can't
do they?
tell. No, they don't. That's why they are constantly having these meetings, and we're not even in the election period yet, but we are campaigning. I think that what it looks like, you know, the way kunaweza kuwa na uji, you know, on a fire.
I love your examples.
I should be a writer.
How old are you, by the way?
Because I talk like a shosho.
Yeah. I miss my grandmother anytime you speak.
My dad tells me a lot that I have an old soul. I do.
Yeah, I know.
So, you know the way there's like uji, iko hapo tu kwa kuni na iko ndani ya sufuria, lakini haijaanza kuchemsha, like it's not boiling like, you know the way you see it boiling like that. But then it's looking like there's a hard covering over it.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't look like it's hot. But let me tell you, that is the hottest. If someone mwagas that on you, that is the hottest uji, because it has like a case over it. It's like imekauka hapo juu kidogo and it's just simmering.
An active volcano.
Yeah, you can't see the boiling. It's not popping up and releasing. You can't. I think that's where Kenya is. Where hapo tu chini, it's just, simmering. It's boiling pole pole. It is intensely hot. Usicheze na hiyo uji. And I think that, when there was this thing, is this 7-year term?
Yeah.
And me, for what I know, as much as Senate put up a post and said...
it dismissed that.
Dismissed.
A creation of the media, that's what they said.
Yeah, but how many times have we seen things where they're just testing the waters?
Cherargei did that a while ago, but it was shelved.
Yeah. So why is it coming up again? Because the way I know how issues are normally brought, it normally starts like a joke. That's how BBI started. Like, no, we're not really going to have a TR referendum. No.
Manufactured consent.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna. And then before we know it, we're seeing they're doing, county public participation. I mean, they normally start it off as it's a rumor. And then they're trying to see how angry Kenyans are. Then they bring it again. Then they bring, yani paka unaanza kuzoea. You're just like, anyway, maybe this thing is happening. Then you start seeing people thinking around, okay, what would that mean? Is it really a bad thing?
The cost-benefit analysis.
I would say, do not dare. Do not dare. What happened in Nepal should have brought a sense of fear to Kenyan politicians. That fear they had, woga walikuwa wamekimbia wakitoka bunge.
Yeah.
Where even I hear some people were even screaming when they saw how the youth entered parliament. That fear, that moment, they should just reflect on it and go back to that moment, because it can happen again. It can.
This time round, there won't be an escape way. The tunnel, the underground way. It can happen again. Like sometimes people are like, oh, it will never happen again. That's a one in a... But we're seeing, people forget that after June 25th last year, Nigeria went on the streets. Yeah.
Mozambique went on the streets. There was a ripple effect as well. And it didn't get to the level of Nepal, but it just shows you that other countries saw. And they were perfecting. Until other people are seeing it, they're like, yeah, they did it.
They did it. And they're saying our mistake as a country is the time Nerima's friends went out there and said, don't go to State House, go back to your homes. That's a dangerous place. Was that our only mistake, Nerima?
I am watching Nepal still. Because yesterday I saw in the news, military was making announcements and asking protesters to go back home. This is now the part that matters. What does now a transition look like? What does that transition mean? And I am really watching Nepal to see how they navigate. And I don't think it was a mistake then. I don't. Because even if we were to say people went, do you know we lost over 60 people on that day?
Sadly.
Nepal lost 25. I mean, compare. In Nepal, they've killed people, even leaders. And that is at 25. We passed 60. I mean, it's more than that, because there are people who are still missing.
Yeah.
There are people who never came home from June 25th last year. And we are not even sure what their numbers are. It could be in the hundreds. So we're also talking about the dynamics of loss of life, and even the dynamics of brute force, and what that looked like even in a time where there was a majority crowd of young people, like even in that audience. And remember how this time they barricaded with barbed wire everywhere, just to make sure it doesn't happen again. So I don't believe in mistakes, really. I don't. I actually think that was an opportunity for government to pay attention and say, our people are really upset. This is a moment of turning point. The people who lost an opportunity are the ones in government right now, because that was their moment to turn 360 and just be responsive, be accountable. People who are not serving in their ministries well enough, get rid of them. That was the opportunity to turn 360. The fact that we're here today and things have returned to before 25th, this is the mistake. This is the mistake. Because I feel that Kenyan people, we have a lot of grace. In fact, there's a friend of mine, he's German. He said the things Kenyans go through, Germany would have protested a long time ago. A long time ago. But we are normally pressed and pressed and pressed and pressed. By the time a Kenyan blows up, there's no corner to run to.
Maybe you're used to vumilia kwa hiyo ndoa kwa sababu ya watoto.
Tunavumilianga. But me, I'm telling you, that grace that these people had,
the marriage is on the brink of collapse.
Oh yeah, imeenda. Wakiendelea tu hivi, they will know. Once, you know the way, that thing where once someone flips, there's a show, what was it called? This thing, it was a show about women. What is it called? I'm forgetting the name, but it's a show. It has a very interesting name. But it's a show about when women end up murdering, especially their spouses. And Snapped. It's called Snapped. There's a show called Snapped. And the reason why Snapped is important is because a lot of those crimes, the women don't even realize what they're doing. You know, it's one of those things where she stabbed him 50 times, you know, just rage. That's where they're pushing Kenyans, where you just snap. You're not even thinking.
I'll think of the outcome later on.
So even that time you're saying, my friend said it's time to go home, we hadn't reached a snapping point because people went home. If my friend said it's time to go home, when people snap.
And Gaitho is angry about that, by the way.
Gaitho is always angry in his closet of a place. I have never seen Gaitho on the street. I don't even think Gaitho can run. I don't care if he's mad. There are people who can yell, but they can't even show up. You show up. You show up and you show me that anger.
Come on, Nerima, you've never been with Gaitho on the streets?
I've never seen him. Na nimeona watu wengi. There are actually a lot of people, celebrities. Ama it's because tunakimbia. Alafu wameachwa nyuma. I don't know. Me, I've never seen him. You've seen him?
Well, not yet. But I was just wondering, because if you are to judge by the kind of words he brings for them whenever there is this protest and cheering people go to the city, you'll imagine he's the front row leader. And because you're always there, oftentimes, I'm like, okay, let me get the first-hand information from Nerima. Maybe they're always a twin pair on those streets.
Let me tell you, I've been there a few times. The person who I can say is a warrior is Shakira Wafula. Me, I've seen that girl on the streets and I don't know who she becomes, but she's a warrior. Those are the ones who are frontliners. And, you know, there are people who, I feel there's a role for different people. Maybe
they are boardroom operatives.
Ama kuna watu tu kuna kelele, they encourage others. You know the way on a boat when people are rowing, kuna wale watu wanafanya hiyo kazi. Alafu kuna mwingine amekaa tu nyuma anasema row.
Moral booster.
Labda hiyo ni kazi yake. But he can do it without being so vulgar and so he sometimes is like, it's just this anger, bitterness. Like they should be that bitter, not to the Kenyan people who surely are sacrificing themselves to come out. Should be the ones who are stealing from us. They
that Nerima's friends are all working at the BS of NIS. That is Gaitho for you.
Surely. Really? No. No, not all.
I am happy that we've had this conversation because I get those questions a lot. Ask Nerima, because she's actively there in the civil society. Is there an ounce of truth behind all these allegations that when you see someone there calling for accountability, she or he is doing that at the behest of a master, oftentimes working for the government?
So I'll be honest. There are specs.
Really?
Yes, there are some. We know them, but not all. Yeah.
You know them?
Yeah. There are some.
But you can't call them out publicly?
I will not. I'm not. They have a role to play. We are aware of the role they are playing. And no, I'll not. But they are there.
Isn't that wrecking the ship from the inside?
But this happens in all movements. Like even if we look at the history of even black rights movements, for instance, if you look at the story of Fred Hammond, he was killed by or tricked by someone he trusted the most, someone who used to drive him everywhere.
Or bring it home, Thomas Sankara.
His best friend, Liz. So, I mean, it is everywhere. I mean, even in the Bible.
I'm not growing fearful. Don't betray me, Nerima.
But you see, no, look, let's think of ourselves this way. You know,
Sure.
even in the Bible, the story of David, si Saul alikuwa anataka kumua. And he used to go and play the harp and sing there, even though one day Saul tried to throw a spear at him. Si alirudi. Alirudi tu kazi.
Betrayal in the city.
Alirudi kazi. So us, we are going back to work, even though we know there is a soul amongst us who is trying to throw spears at us when we're trying to play the harp. So we focus. Eventually, David will rise. Yeah, it is okay.
I'll send this clip to Guy and I'm sure he'll revert.
I'm sure he
and
will tag me and insult me. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, insult?
I'm sure.
All right. Finally, Nerima, we're talking about this this anger still bottling up within the Gen Zs. The rage is taking shape by the day, just that they have not spoken about it because they're waiting for the government to take this opportunity to change tact. But in the event they don't do that, you've talked of what awaits us. But in the meantime, in the balance of the time, does the first step towards calming the souls of this Gen Z start with dropping the terrorism charges which their brothers and sisters are facing as of now?
I'm so glad you've brought that up because we were in Kahawa on September 11th and it seems that people have forgotten the anniversary of the Twin Towers going down in New York. And the reason this is important is because, I mean, first, how we looked at terror. Number two, even our own security. When you travel or anything, now we go through metal detectors like it's normal. There was a moment, there were no metal detectors anywhere and you could walk into buildings. So Kahawa Law Courts has been put up for 3 reasons. It's either to deal with terrorism, drug trafficking, or wildlife trafficking. So it's unfortunate that on September 11th, we were there with up to 70 young people. Quite a number of them are being charged with terrorism, but there's barely any evidence. Some of them don't have their cell phones. They were picked up when they were arrested. Some of them were arrested around Sabasaba and June 25th. And it's been up to even 60 days, and they still don't have their phones. And they are saying that they are using it to collect evidence. So there is no goodwill. By now, these cases would have been dropped. And you know what it does when you start calling someone a terrorist? That's not a small thing. That's not just a tag. Even though this person, even though you Google their name, it will show on internet record. The Republic versus so-and-so. This is a record that will remain with them. And even we have cases of, we have a schoolboy who should be sitting for his exams this year. He was in committee and he's not gone back to school since he's been released on bail. He doesn't want to because everyone is calling him Mugaidi. Now someone like that, how are they going to build a future? You know, even if it's on their record, who's going to hire someone who, when they look up, they see they were once called a terrorist? A lot of people have lost their jobs because they were in cells for a whole month before they were released. So there's a real challenge there, and I wish that the government wasn't so silent on it. There's a point where the office of the ODPP had recalled some of the cases and then just returned them. We were hoping that some of them would be dropped because they are nonsensical, and you begin to water down the influence and power of that court. That court is only for very serious crimes. So when you start bringing children, basically, because we had a few minors there, and start, you know, placing very high charges, you're watering down the essence of that court, and that's not why it was formed. And you know, we see the US, the UK, they fund a lot of anti-terror. So it's unfortunate that a lot of that resource, rather than going and protecting us from real terrorists, which is still a threat, by the way, considering some of the countries we're surrounded by that are still under civil unrest, it's being used to terrorize youth. So we continue. They just basically said, of course, we return. They've been given, I guess, another 30 days to give back people's cell phones, but of course they haven't returned. We even have those who are arrested in Muthaiga, Kina Generali, and they still don't have their phones.
To this date?
To this day. Even though they have a court order that says they should be having their phones. So you can see how cell phones are now being utilized not only for surveillance. We are worried that even when these phones come back, will they be useful to us? Or, you know, have they put in other applications to continue with surveillance? Should people just focus on getting new phones and new lines, or are our lives forever going to be surveilled because of some of the instances we've seen in relation to abductions? So it's a very worrying state of events, and even though they'll blame and say it's mainly DCP youth, that's a lie. And even in the database that we have, it's up to 500 young people and who were arrested, some on arson charges and violence, only 70 on terrorism. But I'll be honest with you, most of them are Kikuyu.
What?
Yeah.
That kind of profiling?
Yeah, I'll be honest. So sometimes I don't agree with Gachagua and what he says and how he says it, but there is a sense of profiling. People were picked up from Juja, Kiambu, Kirinyaga, Naivasha. A majority of them actually are Kikuyu young men. Yeah. So there's even one case we have that has up to 30 people and one woman. So it's a lot. It's a specific profile, and they are mainly in their mid-20s. And then you have the minors who are about like 10, who are below 18. And then we have elderly people. Imagine we even had a 61-year-old. Alikuwa amekaa chini ameshikwa. Ameambiwa alikuwa maandamano, na unaweza jua hakuwa anaweza kukimbia ama kufanya kitu. Na ukiangalia hizo charge sheets, like they talk about, oh, alikuwa ameshika mawe, alikuwa karibu kutupa kitu. I mean, some of the things, we need more evidence.
We need more evidence.
Yeah.
All right, Nerima, let me give you 2 minutes to speak to two sets of people here. One, our political players, our leaders. The other to the electorate, a majority of them just common mwananchi, the taxpayers. And they're now marking 3 years of President Ruto into office. Some of them are growing fearful by the day, looking at what the future probably portends for them. Some would feel we're on the right path to becoming the Singapore of Africa. From a general standpoint, what is your message, or let me say call to action, for these two sets of people?
To focus on the real challenge, which is young people's needs. Because they are majority, I'll not even say young people, the public's needs. Wastage is still too rampant. So Singapore was not built on waste. It wasn't. Singapore was built on using every single coin and every drop of sweat what we're seeing is the majority population is sweating, and we are just dropping it and wasting it, and the majority of resource is being wasted. There is no Singapore that will be built on any of that.
It shouldn't be a dream on paper or before the press.
Yeah, it's being built on sinking sand.
That's it?
That's it. It's as simple as that.
All right. There you have it. That point by Nerima Wako, Executive Director. Siasa Place takes us to the wrap of today's conversation. Of course, unpacking a raft of issues. In the world of politics and governance, you've heard it from her. Lots of nuggets of wisdom from Nerima Wako. Nerima, so great to have you once again.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you sometime soon on the program.
Thank you.
Majaliwa next week.
And next week, I'm traveling.
But we shall be patient until you return, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Keep us engaged on our social media handles. I'm at Mwenje Richard on X, TikTok, and every other social media platform. Get Nerima Wako at
Nerima W.
Nerima
Everywhere.
W.
Yeah.
You're that lazy?
Yes. Creativity. Sina.
And there has been this constant question
Yeah.
that, hey, maybe I want to partner with Siasa Place, or I even want to join that organization. How do they go around it, and what are the things you stand for as an organization?
Oh yeah, our website, www.siasaplace.com. There's a tab on our website that just says join us. So when you click on that, you'll be able to get our newsletters that share with you what we're doing in the various counties. And if you're still interested in more, then there's a join as a member, where now we're able to invite you to certain events and also see if we're able to partner on certain activities and forums.
All right, enjoy the rest of your viewing. I'm Richard Mwenje. God bless.